Alright, take 3. I mean it, last time, take 3. Tried recording this earlier, turned into long ramble, 40 minutes long, and I was not going to put that up. And it's just bad. I also wish I really knew how to do animation, because I would have done a brick joke to the last video I posted, which would have been a bit of fun to do and fun to see, but you know, I can't do animation. So, Drew, if you're listening, talk to me. Speaking of viewers and viewer requests, it was suggested to me by my friend Ethan to do a change of topics to try and have a bit more varied material, and I really do agree, because the 2 pony videos in a row was, that's a bit much for me, and having a lot of cooking in a row. And yes, Ethan, I am listening to you, and I will do a full cooking episode. It's just trying to get that figured out and what to make, what to arrange. But and honestly, God, that was one of my first ideas when I started doing this, is doing a full prep to finish. But yes, he suggested I talk about video games, and in lieu of doing a review, I'm going to talk about just trying to generalize this topic as much as possible. I want to talk about my experiences with the Pokemon series. Currently playing the Pokemon Shuffle a lot, and very fun game, very addicting. It's coming to Android and iOS soon. Currently in beta for Android, at least in Japan. Apple, you know, they're horrible when it comes to any releases, and even stuff that they don't release. If you look up their current DRM policies on the iCloud, but yeah, it's coming into Android and iOS. The first free to start game. It's Satoru Iwata coined that term because, you know, he's being honest about it, instead of saying free and then freemium is what they mean. He's at least being honest with us, and thank you, Nintendo, for being honest. But this isn't really talk about that one game. I don't really want to do a straight up review of any of the games of the series, but try and limit what I talk about as much as I can. But just want to talk about my experiences with the game in general, and why I really like it. Started back in whatever 90s with Pokemon Yellow. That was my first game. Really good experience. I got into the RPG aspects. I had some experience. I had the Dragon Warrior as one of my first NES games. Thank you, Nintendo Power. Got some experience with like the Final Fantasies along the lines, but I was still I was still in high school when that came out, so I would have definitely played Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger. Also, Earthbound was a big addiction of mine, and one of my favorite games of all time, as I probably mentioned before. And if you have any NES amiibos, I would be happy to hold on to them for you. But Pokemon was very fun. First thing, I had one friend who would actually play with me, so got some trading in, not really enough to complete the Pokedex, but you know, he is at least cool enough to help me get like Alakazam and Gengar. So that was a fun intro into the series. Then came Gold, was my next one. And that was right when I started realizing everyone I knew in high school were complete jerks. Because I was the only one that had one cartridge and one Game Boy. Everyone had both of that, both cartridges and another Game Boy. Or if they had a little brother, obviously. Or some even had more than two and enough cartridges to, and all of the cartridges as well. So I was very outcast because none of them would want to help me out with the game, which really sours my opinion on Gen 2, even though a lot of really cool stuff is in it. I love Tyranitar, I love Ho-Oh. The design of Lugia is pretty cool. I honestly think it should be a dragon flying, but psychic flying is perfectly fine too. And also, it kind of seems like it should be a psychic water if you're from where you actually catch it. From dragon water, but we've got a dragon water in Gen 4, so that's a good plus. Yeah, it really soured my opinion, and even though it was a nice follow-up and I had fun with it at the time, but it just not being able to get the full experience because my friends were being complete jerks about playing a simple game with me, and really went on me on that because they were pretty jerks about a lot of things. When it came to just being, friends, or friendly, or treating someone like they're human. But that's neuroses for another day. Gen 3 got Ruby. I had a lot of fun with it. Definitely played it a lot, but not the most I played. Really good game. It was the one, since I was a GameCube era, is right around the time I started college, so I did a lot of solo stuff. I'm pretty sure I got completed the Ruby Pokedex. Since I didn't know anyone at college at the time, living in a different area, I didn't really have anyone to trade with, but it was also at the same time that I was realizing I much more prefer the single player experience than multiplayer stuff, and that goes back to high school where I never even got a chance to experience most of the multiplayer stuff. I mean, hell, I had only played Melee like 2 or 3 times multiplayer at that point. So, of course, when I got to university, Ethan, you know all about how much I played Melee then, because only Quentin was the only one to defeat me that one time, which is really saying something about that. Although I'm pretty sure you were also there when we fired up oh god, what was it? Smash 64, and I just got hammered because I hadn't played that in years. I was more adapted to Melee and Brawl at the time. But back to Ruby. I was having a lot of fun with that game. But it just never really stood out to me because it was just like, okay, it's another one, single player game, completed everything, move on, and ended up forgetting about it for a while. Here it exists. But then Gen 4 came out, and I was... Wow, it was like a renaissance of my love of Pokemon. It gave us the GTS, so you could finally trade without having to be face to face with a person. Had a friend also on campus who had the game, so I can trade with them. Met some at a AFIO convention and traded with them. So I was actually meeting people to trade with. They had the GTS, so I could trade online. I was finally getting those experiences that my friends in high school were denying me for no good reason. And I was getting really happy with that, and I put a lot of hours into it. I maxed out the hour counter at 999.59 minutes. A long time before even the next games in the generation came out on my Pearl cartridge has experienced over 1,000 hours of gameplay, which in that one game is more time spent playing that than all the time I spent playing every Final Fantasy game I've ever played, which really is saying something, because those are long games, and I've gone through start to finish a few of the longer ones a couple times. So yeah, it was just a really fun experience. I mean, I had a trip to Japan at that time and had my game with me, and it was something that you could pull out in Japan and people would recognize, and it was like that was the thing. One of my friends in there in university, his kids had the game, and so it was like if he would need a distraction for his kids while he has to run around on campus a bit. Hey, he knows a guy who plays Pokemon at the same time. So it was fun. Gen 4 also had Platinum, which was the first time I really got into the story of a Pokemon game. So that was a really good experience for me there. And because Gen 4 even had this cool feature where you could interlock your Gen 3 cartridges into the game, and you get extra Pokemon from that, or you can even transfer your old ones into the new game. And that was thanks to DS and DS Lite features. So I got to have my old Pokemon back, and so it was really like bridging that up. And just randomly at the store, I found like really cheap copies of Emerald. I found a cheap copy of the Coliseum games, so I went back and played those and really experienced Gen 3 as fully as I ever have before. I also got Fire Red, but I didn't really play that too much. I really fell in love with Emerald. That was a very good remake of the two Gen 3 games, and when we get in Gen 6, I could see a lot of Emerald in the story in Gen 6, because you have a lot of those elements from Emerald in those games, even though they stayed pretty much true to the original ones that are based off of. And then playing the Coliseum games, holy crow! The fun thing, the people who make the Pokemon Shuffle are the same team who made the Coliseum games, which were darker, edgier, highly strategic, and had some of the best music in Pokemon history. Except for the darker, edgier part, that could also be said about some of Pokemon Shuffle's tracks. So, really, really love it's Genius Sonority or Genesis? Genius Sonority, I'm pretty sure. Very good, very good, very good games. Like, you had to really think about them, and because I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, and a lot of the single player stuff. These were a Pokemon game where single player experience was the absolute key. So that was that experience for me. So Final Fantasy, the Pokemon series for me, and gave me a story, gave me music, gave me a single player experience that was completely separate from the rest of the Pokemon world, and I really enjoyed those ones. So they're pretty strategic. The first one especially because you're very limited on your options. So Gen 4 was really like getting me really back energized into this series. It was a real renaissance of that experience. Gen 5 definitely was the peak because I had all of the experience from Gen 4, so I knew how to do like GTS and transfer stuff around, transfer between games, and then they had like a lot of the story stuff. They got better event downloads and that sort of behavior, but the story in 5 just blew me away, and that's my favorite Pokemon generation, is because you had this really good story, basically about don't give up don't use your Pokemon as tools, and the fact that the villains were able to convince gym leaders that their philosophy was right was one of my favorite things that happened, because you think gym leaders are supposed to be the good guys, and then they're like, you know what, the bad guys have a good point. We shouldn't use our Pokemon as tools. And it just really moved up the story for me. And then presentation, they got the best use out of the DS technology that they could. A lot of really impressive visuals. Got the sound, music really well. Started doing doing things where you could see the what was it? You could see the separate gender traits, like in different Pokemon. You could see they do little dances and when you let them out of the Pokeballs, and a lot of like these really a lot of polish just really drew me into the world, and the online aspect, being able to do a lot more online too, and it just has a very fun time of the game, and one of my favorite. It is my favorite generation. Until Gen 7 comes along and gives us a better story, or something comes along and really gives us a story, I'll say 5 is my favorite. 6, yeah, if 6 really felt like they're reinventing the wheel, but on the 3DS. The best thing about 6, though, is character customization. I just love the character customization in that. I made my character look like Sunset Shimmer, and I had a lot of fun because it's like, I'm just going to play this game imagining how she would behave in these situations. So I had some moments where I was like very snide to like the rivals and get to input like responses, and they're being all super friendly about it. So it just that the customization aspect really got to me. Story wise, the whole rest of the presentation definitely upped the game, but after having this great story with 5, X and Y just didn't really have it until you get to the post game and you got this Liquor Bureau. I was crazy about that. That was my favorite thing in the game. It makes me really sad that my favorite part of the game is a post-game feature that is completely optional. Just feel bad about that. It just really developed the character of Liquor, who had been around since Gen 4, and you met him in Platinum, you met him a few times in Black and White, but you run into him here, and you get to get into like his daily life, you get to experience him and get to know him, and it's this fun character. Also, Gen 6 has the Gen 3 remakes, which I wasn't really excited for them until I found out I can get the last two Pokemon that were keeping me from having a complete Pokedex. Gen 4, I was able to get it because thank you to the GTS and transferring your Mon up from the older games. Yeah, and really manipulating those. Gen 5 wasn't that easy to get them, unless you had both Black and White. Not even getting Black 2 or White 2 would help you. You needed the two base games to really get it, and that's still abusing GTS, abusing transferring from Gen 4. Gen 6 made it a lot easier to transfer. Pokemon Bank, really, really good thing. Just mass transfer everything old to new. But then it also lets you get a lot of legendaries that you don't have access to anymore in the Gen 3 remakes in ORAS, which is very good. They redid the story a lot, made it feel fresher, and really upped the presentation of it. Yeah, because they have this great graphics on 3DS, at least compared to Game Boy Advance. So that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. It made me upset at one point because right before Endgame, they unlock all of the Pokemon not appearing in 3rd Gen start appearing, so you can start getting ones that weren't in your original game, and that sort of bugged me because you spend the entire game limited, and it works for that because the game's designed to be limited, and then the limit's off before the end, and someone like me who can grind really well, or it became like, oh, I can just walk right over the final areas because I can beat them easily because everyone in Gen 3 doesn't know about fairy types. And you have your final boss, 3 of them are relatively weak to fairy types, especially if you have an Asmorel. You have one of those, you make Arceus but again, the post game stuff with a lot of the legendaries available, and actually really fun figuring out and how to hunt them down. That was a very fun feature for me. And post game again, they introduced the Delta episode, which is a bonus little thing that really shipped your character and the rival really hard. Like, holy crow, they were shipping them hard, and it was awkward and pretty bad, to be perfectly honest. But the rest of the story was amazing because you go around and just re-experience the world again, and you get this really cool final battle, and it was just like this really small, condensed bit of story that was way better presented and told than the rehash of the original story. Not that the Gen 3 story wasn't that bad. It was bad, but this one was. I don't know. What am I trying to compare? What am I trying to say here? So, just it was a better version, a better story, and really enjoyed that. Of course, their post game also was the first time I ever really came close to crying during a Pokemon game, because they brought Looker back. I loved Looker. They gave him Hollywood amnesia, so essentially destroyed his character. I was really sad. So yeah, this game I didn't think was going to be much. It was also the first one that actually made me sad. Not as sad as realizing my friends are jerks, but still really sad about Pokemon, which is a weird thing to say. I don't know. There's a thing about those games, and why they really stick to me is especially when Gen 3, I realized how good of a nice little RPG experience it is, and it's a good intro RPG in my opinion. It's like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, only more accessible to and more appealing to more people because it has hardcore elements deep down. Gen 4 really brought out everything I love about the game because you don't need that close network that you did in the first game or first few generations, and those 5 prove that they can do storytelling, and 6 prove they can do customization. So if we can, I really hope that they continue that trend, and in Gen 7 we get like really good customizable characters, really good online connectivity, and really good story, especially a really good story. But that's personal opinion. I'm a story person, so yeah. That's why I like the Pokemon games. Is they're a really good base RPG experience, really good core mechanics on them, and can get someone into the RPG mindset. And if you move on to more multiplayer stuff, which is really good and really available on RPG standards these days, that's a good thing, and it's a very, very good story. You can get kids into it because it's about taking care of your animals properly and getting them to save the world. And just there's just a lot of really good. They do a lot of things right. I'm saying that like over and over again, but it's one of these series that they do a lot of things right, even if a lot of their other features are stupid or unappealing. But it's a large appeal game, and it's hard not to enjoy it. And if you're still watching, you've been thinking for 30 minutes, where is his little plush that he usually has here? What? You think I have a Pokemon plush? I mean, I'm a big fan of the game, but nope, not a thing here. Nothing at all. Nor is there one of my favorite starters there, or one of my absolute favorite Pokemons ever there. Nope, not a thing. No random Pokemon plushies at all. none hidden away in a different room at all either. Shh.